Hey kids, time for the next video. We are doing lesson 20 in module 4. So this one is for converting mixed unit measurements and solving multi-step word problems. And so they're going to kind of mix it up for us. So don't get too comfortable with any one way, except that we are going to keep using the formula that we came up with a little while ago. That is the consistent piece, multiplying by one of the old unit before you change to the equivalent of the new. So there are a couple little warm-up problems in the teacher's manual. There's actually some really good stuff that involves skip counting. And if you get a chance to do that, basically it's like, okay, skip count by ones to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now count by halves to 10 or to 5. And so then it's 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. And then you can count, but instead of using halves, you should be able to count with improper fractions. So 1 half 1, 3 halves 2, 5 halves 3, like that. And so it's some really good stuff. I hope you guys get to do that with your fun teachers. And and then also working with decimal multiplication. But that's just kind of some warm-up stuff. Then when you get into the actual lesson, well, actually, there's the application problem here. And so I have this one. And the recipe calls for 3/4 pound of cream cheese. It's a small tub. It weighs 12 ounces. Is this enough? And then you can kind of apply the formula. 12 ounces equals how many pounds? This is the times 1 of the old times the equivalent of the new. And so remember to think about things to think about. Ounces are tiny. Pounds are bigger. If you're going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, then you're going to have fewer of the larger unit in your final answer. Okay, so just something to think about. Sorry, I'm just making my space a little bit better here. And then there's one more, and that's on the back here. So 3.5 gallons equals how many quarts? And I believe it was what? Page 167 that is your reference page for, yeah, it's 167 reference sheet for measurement. You're going to want to have that handy so that you would know how many quarts are in a gallon. And it's 4, but you can keep that handy because you're probably going to need to know pints and cups as well. Okay, so 3.5 gallons equals how many quarts, and then you apply the formula times 1 of the old times the equivalent of the new. And this one, because we're mixing it up today, it's going to go from 1 gallon to 4 quarts because this is a larger unit and quarts are smaller. So when you go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, you're going to end up with more of the smaller unit. Whoops, down here. More of the smaller units. Don't worry about tyranny. You'll be studying that in social studies. 3.5 gallons equals 14 quarts. So that's your warm-up. And I always have so many notes. It's like mini books. And I'm sure I told you this, but I already threw out most of the stuff. Okay, so let's get to it. Open your books to page 243. This is the Blue Spine Learn book, and we'll get started. Convert, show your work, express your answer as a mixed number. Don't leave it improper. Draw a tape diagram if it helps you. I don't think I'm going to have any tape diagrams on the first ones. Maybe a little bit as we get into the word problems because that is oftentimes very helpful. So always think about, okay, is it going to be small units changing into large units, large, or is it large to small? You've got to think about these things before you get started. So yards to feet, this is smaller here, so we're going to have more for our answer than what I started with. Okay, which is 2 2/3 yards. Okay, so this is going to have fewer units because of this tool. Okay, so think about that. So if I have 1.5 quarts and I'm changing quarts to gallons, on this one, these are smaller units and these are larger. So I'm going to have something less than 1.5 because I'm going to a larger unit, okay? So copy this here times 1 of the old. Copy it again times the equivalent of the new. Remember that 1 quart equals 1/4 of a gallon. 1 quart is equal to 1/4 of a gallon. Use that reference sheet so you can see that there are 4 quarts in a gallon, so 1 quart is 1/4 of that. And then we don't necessarily multiply with mixed numbers. We usually change it to an improper fraction and scoop it all up so that you can have 3 halves, and then 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 2 is 8, and we end up with 3/8 gallon. Okay, and of course I probably should have done 3 times 1 over 8 is fine, or 2 times 4, just making that one line there, and then that gives you your 3/8 gallon. Easy peasy. So you guys know how to do this. Nothing's really new here. We're just repeating it, and they're mixing it up so that you have to be on your toes. Stay on your toes. Now the work begins. Start copying 4 2/3 over here times 1 of the old unit. 4 2/3 copied again times the equivalent of the new. So when you think about inches, how many inches are in a foot? And this is going to be 12 inches because I'm going from feet to inches, which is a bigger to smaller. Okay, now for this one, we have to wrap up our mixed number. It's a little bit bigger than this one. So if you forgot how, it's 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 2, which makes 14/3, times 12. And again, 12 as a whole number would be 12 over 1. So this step here is 14 times 12, and then 3 times 1 is 3. Now always try to simplify before you multiply. Don't multiply with those big numbers. 3 goes into 3 once. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Or you could just say 12/3 is equal to 4. And then you only have to have 14 times 4, which is simpler than doing 14 times 12. So 4 times 4 is 16, carry the 1, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and you end up with 56 new unit for our equivalent for 4 2/3 feet. It's equal to 56 inches. Okay, next one. 9.5 pints times 1 pint. And then 9.5. What am I changing it to? Quarts. It's going from a smaller unit to a larger unit. So 1 pint, and remember there's that, the picture, and you might have made Gallon Man at one point. I don't know if your teachers do that. Usually when kids are in class, I do that. But anyway, there are 2 pints in a quart, so 1 pint is only 1/2 of the new unit, so that's the equivalent. So wrap this up into an improper fraction. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 1 is 19. 19 halves times 1/2. And again, this is going to be the 19 times 1 over, oh no. Oh, hopefully I have more lead in there. 19 over 1 times 4, so it's 19/4. And that leaves you with 4, because 4 goes into 19 4 times for 16, and then 17, 18, 19. And that's going to be 9.5 pints is equal to this new unit. Okay, well that's not going to help me there. Hopefully I've got some lead in here. Yay, it's ready to go. Okay. So next one, 3 3/5 hour is equal to how many minutes? An hour is larger, minutes are smaller. So 3 3/5 times 1 hour. And then same thing, copy, copy, copy. And then 1 hour is equal to how many minutes? So again, we've got to have the equivalent, and this is a smaller unit here, so it's 60. So I have more of the smaller unit. Change this to an improper fraction. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18, times 60, and then I want to combine what I can. So I usually just do the 18 times 60 over 5. And now I want to simplify. I know that 60 is a multiple of 5 12 times. So 60 divided by 5 is 12. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I end up with 18 times 12 over 1. So it's really just 18 times 12. Now this, because it's a double digit, I don't expect you to solve that in your head, and I wouldn't either, because you guys probably can't see that. I wouldn't do that in my head, because anytime you have to do regrouping, you got to carry over. So 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Hold this spot because I'm done multiplying with the ones. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. 11. And I end up with 216 minutes. There you go. Yay. And this last one. 3 2/3 times 1 of the old unit. 3 2/3 times the equivalent of the new. Now 1 foot is only 1/3 of a yard because there are 3 feet in a yard, so we're not even making up 1. So feet to yards, smaller unit, larger unit. 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11. That gives us 11/3 times 1/3 of a yard. And then I always run out of room, but I want to do 11 times 1 over 9. Oops, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and multiply that. Anytime I have a 1, I just don't want to do that. And then I end up with 11/9, which is very simple to straighten out and put in my equivalent amount, 1 2/9 yards. Okay, hopefully there are no questions, because I'm going to move on. Now these problems are kind of involved, so bear with me. There's a lot to them, so maybe you're tuning in just for the word problems, because these are kind of tough. 3 dump trucks are carrying topsoil to a construction site. Truck A carries 3,545 pounds. Truck B carries 1,758 pounds. And truck C carries 3,697 pounds. How many tons of topsoil are the 3 trucks carrying altogether? Notice that it's pounds, pounds, and pounds, and then they switch over to tons. So we're going to have to figure out the total number of pounds and then do our conversion. It's pretty easy when you think about the first step, because I just need to take the whole numbers, they're just big numbers, and add them together. This is what I would do for my first step. You could, I suppose, convert each one to tons first and then combine them, but that doesn't seem intuitive to me. So I'm just going to add them up. Okay. 8 and 7, 15, plus 5 is 20. And then I've got 9 here, and 9, that makes 18, 19, 20. And I've got 13, 14, 15, plus 5 makes 20. And then 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you end up with 9,000 pounds, olbs, 9,000 olbs pounds. So this is the number we're converting. 9,000 olbs pounds equals how many tons? And you might need your reference sheet, but of course I will tell you the answer. So you're going to take the 9,000 times 1 olb pound, and then 9,000 times the equivalent of the new. Now, what is 1 pound when compared to tons? Pounds and tons, it's 2,000 pounds. So 1 pound is 1 tiny 2,000th. It's a fraction. It's not going to be the whole number, because 1 pound is only 1 2,000th of a ton. So then you multiply, and you have 9,000 times 1 over 2,000, which gives you 9,000 over 2,000. And this is back to like, one lesson one, I think. And when you have offsetting zeros, okay, then what it leaves me with really is just 9 divided by 2. 2 goes into 9 4 times with half left over, 4.5 times. So guess what? It's 4.5 tons. All the trucks are carrying 4.5 tons of soil. There you go. So not too bad, but still big numbers. We haven't seen big numbers in a while since we've been dealing with fractions, which are tiny numbers. Melissa buys 3 3/4 gallons of iced tea. Danita buys 7 quarts more than Melissa. How much tea do they buy altogether? So express your answer. Oh, there it is, in quarts. Okay, so 3 3/4 gallons, and Danita buys 7 quarts more. So we've got 1 unit here and 1 unit here. So what you can do, this is where you can use a tape diagram to kind of help you see what Melissa buys. So let's say she buys 3 3/4 gallons. Okay, and Danita also buys some tea, but all I know is that she buys 7 quarts more. Oh, there go the lights. Guess I haven't walked around recently enough. Back on. Oh, so fun. And everybody get up and stretch. Okay, and so whatever Danita bought, it's going to be the same as what Melissa bought and more than her. So it's all of this and more. So I need to figure out what this is in quarts before I can figure out the total, because I need to add that. So I'm going to take my 3 3/4 gallon and say, how many quarts is that? Okay, so move this 3 3/4 times 1 gallon, and then 3 3/4, copy it again, take the time. And what is a gallon to quarts? Well, it's 4. I can hear noises out there. Okay, 3 3/4 times 4, and so you can make this an improper fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. And all of a sudden it becomes very simple that 4 is divisible by 4, and that would be 15 quarts. So this 3 3/4 gallons amount on this tape diagram is equal to 15 quarts. Okay, so that means Melissa has 15 quarts and Danita has 15 plus 7 quarts. Okay, and so if you add this, you're going to see that Danita actually has 22 quarts in all, and we need to see they all together. So we're going to have Melissa's, which are the 15, and Danita's, which are the 22, and then you would end up with 37 quarts altogether. They all together. And you could probably make your label better, but I didn't. Okay, then let's move on to Marvin and the hose so he can do his yard work and we'll be all done. Marvin buys a hose that is 27 3/4 feet long. He already owns a hose at home that is 2/3 the length of the new hose. Gosh, so many different things that I'm thinking of. And you know, I mean, gosh, there's a lot here. Let's start. How many total yards of hose does Marvin have now? So let's start with a tape diagram. And you can show that he buys a hose that's 27 3/4. And this is the new, let's call this one the new. And this is 27 3/4 feet. He already owns a hose at home that is 2/3 the length. So what I can do is I can take this and say the home hose is 2/3. It's not equal to 1 whole. It's not equal to 3/3. It's only equal to 2/3. So if you wanted to see what the amount looks like, then you're trying to create a picture for that. So I need to find out what this length is. So it's 2/3 of 27 3/4, right? So it's a fraction of a number. So we can do several things. I haven't done like multiplying like this in a while, and it may behoove us, there's a fancy word, it might be smart to try this because I can see that 27 is a multiple of 3. So remember how to do this. 2/3 of 27. And then to that, we're going to also have 2/3 of 3/4 because every part of both sides of this equation have to be combined together. So I'm just multiplying 2/3 times the whole and 2/3 times the fraction. So when I do this, I have 27 over 1, which means I can simplify and get an easy number. What about this one? I can simplify. I can even simplify this and get 1/2. And so then I end up with 18.5 feet. Now, for what? For the 2/3 of 27 3/4. So this home hose, this one here, is 18.5 feet long. But that's not the question. That's just part of my solution. So how many total yards of hose does Marvin have now? So now I need to combine all the feet of hose Marvin has. So I'm going to take my 27 3/4. Where should I do it? We'll do it over here. We barely have any room, but we're going to do it anyway. 27 3/4 plus 18 1/2. So if you remember how to add fractions, remember you have to have a common denominator, and first I'm going to add the whole numbers first. So 27 plus 20 would be 57, but it's 2 less than that. So, I'm sorry, 47. 27, 37, 47. 47, not 57, and then minus 2, so that would be 45. And I need to have 3/4 plus 1/2, but I'm going to change 1/2 to 2/4 because I have to have a common denominator before I can add or subtract. So if I have 45 plus 5/4, that's an improper fraction. That's actually equal to 1 1/4. Then it would be 45 plus 1 1/4. That's a 1 there, just in case. Then it would be 46 1/4 total feet of hose. We're making progress. Now, I just need to convert that to yards. So 46 1/4 feet equals how many yards? See what I mean by these problems take up a lot of space and time? Okay, a couple things here. 46 1/4, couple different ways you can go about it, times 1 foot. 46 1/4. And 1 foot is 1/3 of a yard. So again, kind of like I did here, if I have break out the whole number and the fractions. Let's see, 46. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do 46 times 1/3 plus 1/4 times 1/3. Okay, so I'm taking 46 and multiplying it by a third, and then I'm taking 1/4 and multiplying it by a third. So I'm separating it out. And why am I doing that? Because I want to have smaller numbers. If I was to multiply 4 times 46, it just gives me something bigger, and I'm always looking for ways to simplify. Let's move this over this way a little bit. So if I have 46 thirds plus 1/12, I would really like to simplify this before I add it. I could just change this straight away to 12ths, but if I have to do 3 times 4 to get 12, I still have to multiply 46 times 4, and that I don't want to do that. So what am I doing? I'm going to change this to a mixed number. So how many times does 3 go into 46? Well, 1 time for the 4, and then there's 1 left over. That would make 16, so that would be 5 and 1/3. So 3 goes into 46 15 1/3 times, and now I have to add that to 1/12. Now that's looking a little bit easier and kind of doable. So now I just need to change the thirds into 12ths, and I can do that. Now, this is not the only way. Like I keep saying, you can change this into an improper fraction and just change them to have common denominators and be 12ths. And you don't have to do it this way, but I'm trying to use what the book shows you as like the new way. And then it can be helpful to keep things simple. So then you have 15 and 4/12 plus 1/12, and you get 15 and 5/12. And as long as you get your 15 and 5/12 yards, you have gotten the correct answer. So I hope this was helpful. Subscribe if you like, and maybe I'll see you on the next video. You guys are awesome. Bye.